When The Wedding Present formed at Leeds University in 1985, David Gedge was dubbed one of the most consistently brilliant songwriters in Britain. In 1992, they released 12 top 30 singles in as many months, equalling Elvis's 15-year record. But after a 7-year break, The Wedding Present are back with a new album and a new sound.
I was born in St Mary's Hospital. Is it in Bramley or Army? One of those places.
April 23rd, 1960.
My dad's actually from Leeds, my mum's from Manchester. And then when they got married, they stayed here for a few years, but then they moved back to Lancashire.
I think he was about 2-year-old when he moved. Margie couldn't settle in Leeds. I don't know why, but she couldn't. And we moved to Manchester.
And that's where I grew up, basically. When I was about 11, I think, we emigrated to South Africa for a year.
Oh, I seem to
He
love
seemed
it.
to enjoy it. Mind, he was only young.
I was only a kid, and to me it was a great place to live because it was sunshine, the schools finished at 2 o'clock, you used to go on the beach every day, you know.
He settled down well, he learnt Afrikaans.
You saw these weird signs saying, you know, no blacks in here please, and you think, that's strange, but it doesn't quite sink in. And then when, you know, obviously I've come back and then I've started to learn more and more about it, and I imagine if we'd have stayed there, I would have probably ended up in jail or something, because that whole thing I found abhorrent, you know.
We came back and we tried to get him into do his 11 plus, but the schools we tried all said it was too late. He'd have too much catching up to do.
As it happened, it didn't really matter because he did very well there. He got a load of O-levels and A-levels and what have you.
I was one of those swotty kids, really, who everyone picked on.
You sound a bit big-headed when you say this, but he seemed to excel in every subject.
To be honest, I was really good at maths at school, and it's one of those subjects which people either have a talent for or they don't. Leeds was supposed to be a good university for mathematics, and I quite like the idea of coming home in a way, you know, having been born here but never actually having lived here. I sometimes say from the moment I popped out of my mummy's tummy, you know, I wanted to be a pop star, but it's not that far from the truth, really. I can't ever think of anything else that I've ever wanted to do apart from maybe being a DJ. After I'd finished my degree and I was on the dole, suddenly I was faced with the reality. Wait a minute, you know, if I'm going to do this, I've got to buckle down and actually form a proper group. I hate to say it, but being on the dole is actually, it was perfect for me because I had this kind of, obviously it's quite a low income, but it was enough to sustain me while I actually practiced the art of songwriting and you know, making records, really.
Not very happy.
Not very happy about that at all.
Especially me. I used to have a lot of goes at him.
Quite rightly, I think. They thought I'd worked really hard for this degree and then I've gone on the dole with it, you know, when I should have been getting a proper job.
But his answer was, yeah, but I proved to myself that I could do it.
So they didn't like the idea at all. Until we got more successful, then I suppose they saw the tenors changing hands at the merchandise store and they thought, oh, actually, he's probably making a few quid here.
Now, we didn't think it'd go on this long.
No, I'm quite surprised it's lasted this long, actually.
I was in a band called the Lost Pandas just previous to The Wedding Present, and they were kind of proper, but we never really got anywhere. I was sending demos to people.
He turned up at the BBC, I think, on a couple of occasions with demo tapes and cassettes of the Lost Pandas, and he seemed like a nice lad. And the cassettes and the music was sort of okay, but not quite there, really.
That's partly because we were rubbish. 2 of them left, so we actually reformed the band with 2 new members, which I got from like adverts in university and stuff. And that became The Wedding Present. I'm not particularly a confident person. Deep down I knew all the bands that we were in until 1985 weren't quite good enough. In 1985 we'd go out and get 'em boy, and I thought this is actually a good record. You know, we've made a record here which actually will sound great on the radio, and I think we're a good band. So that kind of gave me the confidence to do that. paid for all that first single ourselves out of our bill checks. And then we took 2 suitcases to Red Rhino and said, right, here's 500 singles. And I think they took them on sale or return. It was important that we made quite an extreme record. It was a record that was different, and it sounded like a band, striving for something. It got reviewed in The Enemy, John Peel started to play it.
In fact, it was Andy Kershaw that picked up on The Wedding Present before I did, and I think actually had a session from them before we did anything with it. We certainly played the record before I did, but then Andy's interest moved on elsewhere, and I kind of picked up the ball and ran with it.
It was an incredible feeling, because I'd listened to that programme for all those years, scarcely imagining what it would be like if it was my record on the radio, and then it came on, and I legged it down the street to Keith, the bass player's house, and bang on, he was like, listening, it's the radio, we're on the radio, and he played it about 10 times. He was determined to make people hear it, I think, which was great. Before that, I'd be sending demos out to places to try and get gigs, and they'd say, sorry, where's your reviews, where's your records and stuff. So it does help, obviously. But no, I think for me, just having that 7-inch piece of plastic was the kind of the main aim of it. We set our own label primarily because no one was interested in signing us at that time. We didn't try that hard, I suppose, because we always thought it might be quite cool to have your own label. You do feel better having the complete control, rather than having to have these meetings with people who say, well, I think it's a good song, but I don't think it's a single. You think, well, it's my record, it's going to be a single, I think I'm possibly a little bit paranoid about it, really, now.
You made me what I am, and no matter how it ends, always keep in touch with your friends.
It's very self-contained.
It's friends of the band, it's girlfriends or whatever who become part of the organisation.
And we tend to do a lot of our own stuff, really. Just keeps us from getting bored.
Most bands will sit in a dressing room all night, bored out of their heads, And there's so many little things you can do, really. You can help with merchandise.
When I was at university, I was t-shirt girl.
We have one on-stage roadie that will be just to change guitar strings as we break them.
And then I progressed. I was promoted to roadie.
But everything else is done within the band. We roadie ourselves, we drive. David does the tour management.
Well, you say tour manager and it makes it sound really, you're tour managers. But it's a doddle. You just ring a hotel to book a room, or you ring the promoter up and say, can you give me the address of the venue? That's all they do. And I'm not going to pay some bloke £150 a day to do that.
It was great fun. We travelled, you get to travel, you get to be in a van with your friends and see the world. It's really good fun, for the most part, apart from going to bed at 3 in the morning, every morning, then getting up 5 hours later and having to drive.
And it means that our touring party is very small. We're 4 members of the band, plus 1 other, and a sound engineer, which obviously we can't do ourselves.
As we got bigger in the Wedding Present, we actually started to use less people. As soon as we, had a bit of fame and fortune, and then we did George Best, and that got good reviews and stuff, and suddenly the major labels think, what have we missed here? and we met them all, and we did get the attitude from most of them. It was kind of like, you've done very well so far, lads, but to make the next step, really you've got to do this and do that, and we'll take care of this, and we'll show you how to do this. And it all sounded a bit patronising to us. And then RCA came along and said, okay, let's sign you to RCA, carry on in exactly the same way that you've been working so far. And we thought, okay, that sounds good. As soon as you're in a major, you can sell records around the world. And the letters were building up from America, from Australia, and Europe, saying, we love the band, but we can't buy the records apart from on import. So obviously, by signing to RCA, we solved that problem as well. So in all the years we were on there, they were true to their word, and they let us do what we want. I hate Kennedy, actually, as you well know. I never liked that song. Even when we were kind of rehearsing it, you know, arranging it, I was thinking, this has got B-side written all over it. I thought I'll make kind of, you know, a little tribute to the conspiracy theories surrounding President Kennedy's assassination. I did loads of research. I got books out of the library. I spent weeks on it basically. It was like a doctorate or something, you know. And I wrote the first draft and I thought, this is bobbins. It didn't make sense. I mean, it's like random metaphors thrown in there. And then, of course, everybody was, wow, this is a great record. This has got to be the first single off the album.
Have you lost your love of life? Too much apple pie. And now Harris walks away with Johnny's wife.
It went on to be probably the Wedding President's greatest known record. So, you know, who am I to ask? I obviously got that one well wrong.